This is it, folks. The inevitable march of time has produced that we are now at number 40 on Notes from the Pastor Cave. Number 40. Yay! So we can be really happy that we have now made it to 40 video notes. I like to call them video notes, episodes. And very exciting that we are at number 40 and that we've managed to kind of keep this thing going. And so please, if you're seeing this for the first time, we'd love to have you subscribe and hit that little bell thing there so that you get the notifications. And then go back and listen from the beginning, because we are actually in the same book of the Bible that we were in when we started all this. We are still in the book of Exodus, and this is the way this is going to work. It's the way it's going to flow. And we're not feeling bad about not moving on. We're taking this slow on purpose, and as I've said all along, no bells, no whistles. This is just what we are. This is just me in my pastor cave, doing my pastor cave thing, and just bringing you in on it. These are a lifetime of notes that I've taken, mostly written in Bibles that I've had over the years, and this just gives me the opportunity to share with you a lot of what God has given me and showed me over the years. So I find that exciting. I don't know how exciting you find that, but I find that very exciting. We've we've kicked around, shortening. How do you shorten Notes from the Pastor Cave? And it's not really working well right now. We're just kind of keeping it as it is, because let's see, NFTPC is just a little bit too long. NFTPC, it's still a little cumbersome. It's a little hard to remember, and then you got to avoid things like shortening terms, like making it Notes from the P Cave, because that could mean something entirely different. So we don't. We're just keeping it at Notes from the Pastor Cave. That's where you can find us on YouTube, and that's where you can subscribe. We always want to grow, because the more we grow, the way the algorithm works, the more we grow, the more people get to see what it is that we are doing. And of course, that's the excitement of it all, is to share more and more of what God has to say with more and more people. That's the way it works, and really that's what all of us are called to do. I don't know how long this is going to take. I'm already at 3 minutes with all the blabbing I just did, but we are at the end of Exodus 13, and I will tell you that Exodus 14 has just a load of stuff in it, and it's going to take several sessions to get through. But at the end of chapter 13, this is where we are introduced to a certain thing that happened, and that certain thing will continue to happen. I'll talk a little bit more like that about that. But in verse 21 and 22, it says this: "And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them along the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, that they might travel by day and by night. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night did not depart from before the people." It did not depart from before the people. Okay? So you have this certainly is a miracle, but really probably better described as a manifestation. Is a manifestation of God. The presence of God is there. This group of people that are traveling in a place that they've never traveled before. We talked last time or the time before about not taking the direct route, which would have been easier. Now they're on a more difficult route, and they're on a route that none of them really knows. So God sets up this pillar of clouds. It's not regular clouds where you go, oh, it's cloudy out. This is a pillar of cloud by day that they can see. And then when nighttime rolls around, it becomes a pillar of fire. So there's this, it's kind of pillared manifestation that's burning. You can kind of equate it back to the burning bush if you want to. But this is what they're going to see for the next 40 years of their lives. They're going to see this day and night for the next 40 years of their lives. So just a couple of things about that. First of all, is this idea that God adjusts his manifestation to your circumstances. God adjusts his manifestations to your circumstances. So when it's daytime for the Israelites, they see cloud. When it's nighttime for the Israelites, they see fire. Okay? That is God adjusting the manifestation to help them to continue along to do what they're supposed to be doing, which is traveling in a certain direction. Okay? And this is vitally important, because when it seems to you like God is not there, he's there. You just have to, and he's adjusting his manifestations. There are there are certain basic principles to do. If you are a follower of Christ, there's certain basic principles that are really important. One is maintaining a daily prayer life. One is maintaining a daily devotional life where you're just reading the scriptures. Maintaining as part of your prayer life a listening time where you just shut up and let God talk. And that could be the hardest thing for a lot of us. What are my inputs? Am I reading material that is glorifying to God in my life? Am I reading material by other believers that's good material? Because there's so much material out there now. There's good and bad material. But am I feeding my soul with good? Am I feeding myself with music that is glorifying to God? And there are all these avenues with which God can manifest himself in our lives, but sometimes that manifestation changes, and we're like, well, why did that change? Well, it's because there are little changes in our lives that God recognizes long before we do. And he's changing the manifestation of his presence in our lives due to those very human circumstances, right? It's a very human circumstance for it to get light and dark. And it only happens when you're living on earth. God is not concerned about that. He doesn't have to worry about it getting light and dark where he is. So he changes the manifestation for them so that they can still see him. Key words here. They can still see him, still see his work, whatever the circumstances are. And that is just indicative of the God that we serve, and the God that you can serve if you surrender your life to Christ. And the other thing is, that's always just, from the day I figured this out, it's like, wow, is this idea, the time this pillar and fire left was the day that they stepped into the promised land. Okay? So this begins now, and it stays with them year after year after year, and cycle after cycle after cycle, and everything that they go through. And you can read through the Exodus, and you can read through the traveling of the wanderings of the Jewish people in the wilderness, and you can forget that manifestation is there the whole time. So when Moses goes up on the mountain, and they're like, well, we don't know where this old guy is, so let's just make a couple of golden calves and worship them. The pillar of cloud is still there. When they're grumbling against God and his provision, we're getting manna. When are we going to get some meat? When they're grumbling against God, the manifestation of the pillar is right there. They can all see it in the midst of their complaining when they're extending their hand against Moses and Aaron and the leadership and Joshua. When they're getting nasty with the leadership, the pillar is right there. When they're struggling, the pillar is right there. When they're egreged, it's right there. When they're in distress, the pillar is right there. When they're rejoicing and they're happy, the pillar is right there. It's there the whole time. But sometimes I think what happened was they got so used to it getting there that they just didn't look up. They got so encased in their circumstances that they failed to look up, to look out ahead of them and see what was going on. And man, I know that I can be like that. I can get in the midst of my troubles. I can get in the midst of my difficulties. I can get in the midst of my challenges, and I don't look up. And I don't look and see that God is, the manifestation of God in my life is right there. It's right there in front of me. All I have to do is take my eyes off of down and put them up to see what God is doing. And this becomes just such an important cousin. When we first moved here to the mountains, we were just in awe of the beauty of the mountains because they really are lovely, and the sunsets are nothing short of amazing. I grew up on the ocean. I've never lived anywhere where the sunsets were as beautiful as they are here in the mountains. They're just absolutely gorgeous. And when we first moved here, we would talk to people about, one of the great things about living here is this, is the beauty of all of this. And people would say, what? They've been here so long, and the economic circumstances of this area and the difficulties of living in this area are so huge that people don't look up anymore, and they don't see the beauty of their own mountains in front of them. And what a shame. But we can end up doing that with our own spiritual lives if we fail to look up. So there's a ton of lessons from this pillar of cloud, but just to let you know, the manifestation of God's presence is always there. You just got to find it, and He's adjusting it to your life, but you still have to look up in order to see it and find it. So that's it. Notes from the Pastor Cave. Episode 40, wait, my little card, episode 40, and Vita brevis gloria aeterna, life is short, glory is eternal. Have a great day.